We got some rather breaking news from the Assassin's Creed Shadows Twitter account. This is after some very interesting developments about the state of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the much maligned and rather polarizing game that has had some major controversy both from some of the rage YouTubers and some of the more mainstream ones alike, after the main character had been revealed and some of the figurines that have now been revealed gaining some major controversy in Japan. And after they skipped the Tokyo Game Show and had canceled some pressers, they now come out with this, which is probably what everybody was believing was actually going on. From their Twitter account, it says, quote, "Dear players, Assassin's Creed Shadows is a dream project for us, finally bringing the series to feudal Japan with many features developed with our community in mind, such as parkour or the renewed stealth brought by new technology, all set in a beautiful and immersive world. This is an ambitious addition to the franchise, a rich experience that can be lived through the eyes of two unique protagonists, but we realize we need more time to polish and refine the experience, pushing further some of our key features. As such, we've made the decision to postpone the release date to February 14th, 2025. The game will release on a broad range of platforms, including Steam, at launch. Additionally, pre-orders will be refunded and all future pre-orders will be granted the first expansion for free. We understand this decision will come as disappointing news, especially to those who've been waiting patiently for the Assassin's Creed game inspired by feudal Japan, but we sincerely believe this is in the best interest of the game and ultimately your experience as a player. Rest assured, we are looking forward to the moment you will embark on a memorable adventure with Nori and Yasuke. Until then, we thank you for your ongoing support. Signed, Mark Alexis Cote, on behalf of all teams working on Assassin's Creed Shadows." Now, first of all, February 14th, that's on Valentine's Day. I think that might be just coincidence, but whatever. Now, the first thing I want to get to is I've seen a few people on Twitter/X saying that Japan actually likes the fact that Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out soon, but I see no evidence to support that theory. I just wanted to give you guys the heads up that that opinion is out there and somebody's touting that as a fact. So if you see that, please be sure to correct them on the record and try to get their evidence on the record. Their evidence, not them saying, oh, just use Google, you should have to do it yourself. No, they have the responsibility. If they're making a claim, they make the responsibility their own in order to give you the information and the source they got that from. That way you can dispute that evidence that they used, not something you use yourself in order to validate their claim. The other thing here is that Ubisoft's stock is dropping and there has been calls for the company to go private, and that might be in order to try to remove the CEO of the company. This is also after the dismal showings of Star Wars Outlaws and the way it's been handling some of the more recent releases and how they have been kind of using the more social justice aspects of these games in order to create this tension between these two fringe sides that you normally see when those types of topics come up, but it seems like Ubisoft was trying to bait all that in order to keep people distracted from the outrageous prices that they wanted people to just accept. And now it seems like not only are they getting in a big trouble with this one, not only with that figurine that we saw that deflected a structure from Nagasaki that was one of the only, if the only, surviving structures from the atomic bomb blasts in World War II, which is kind of tasteless and uncalled for. But you also have this whole mess about where they got the legend of Yasuke from, and if somebody was actually trolling them or trying to just get some money and they were editing Wikipedia and all of this stuff. It's a whole mess of stuff that I would have to go through a whole entire sequence of events, a timeline of events, in order to tell you every single last thing that happened here. But them skipping Tokyo Game Show and then the pressers gave the impression that this was coming. I just didn't think it was going to come this soon. But I don't really think they understand the actual controversy that is surrounding this game. And it has nothing to do with racism or anything like that. There's no problem with having a minority character as the main protagonist in the game or movie or anything like that. I don't think any sane person, any serious person who's actually discussing this is going to have any problem with a minority character or a female protagonist in the game. That is not what is being discussed here. That's a straw man that's been precipitated by some people who want to shill for this game. And I'm pretty sure some people are generally excited for this game, but there have been a lot of missteps that Ubisoft has done in the wake of some of these ongoing controversies that have not stopped. You would think that if it was disproven that there was something to the controversies, to the quote-unquote conspiracies, that they would abandon those talking points, but they have not. So you would think there's something more there that maybe Ubisoft would have to address, but instead Ubisoft went on a blocking spree. We've seen that happen too recently on Twitter, that a lot of people who use Twitter/X have taken the block feature as the first act instead of a last resort, which shows you that there's something they're trying to hide. And you want to know the reason why Elon Musk wants to reform the block system on Twitter. There's your reason. It's not because they want to support harassers or anything like that. It's because of things like this. When Ubisoft comes out with this, which I don't think they're even honest at this point, they're saying, hey, you're excited about this. No, they knew this was going to be a train wreck. So that's the reason why, is that they're starting to see that even the mainstream outlets are picking up on the controversy and are calling it for what it is. It's a controversy that Ubisoft is finding themselves in, and they have no real good answer to address this. And they haven't addressed it. They've gone out of the way to try to keep from having to address it, and now it's staring them right in the face. Mainstream outlets like Polygon, mainstream outlets like Eurogamer, mainstream outlets like Forbes, they're picking up on this. This is something they can't ignore. If this was just a conspiracy by some of these red text YouTubers that are out there that people freak out over every time they make a video, then why is this happening? This is not just a conspiracy here. This is a real life thing, and that is affecting this in the mainstream. And for the record, I think it might be about time that we address this tension that's been going on recently. You've seen some people on X and on YouTube who have gone out of the way to address some of these red text YouTubers, to put them mildly, and for lack of a better phrase, to describe them. And I think maybe it's about time some people start addressing that in a more serious juncture, because it does get nasty, it does get volatile, it does get vitriolic, some of the things that are said about them. Yes, you can disagree with people, but don't start doing name calling and ad hominem attacks, and don't start making wild accusations about them. Stick to the topic. Act like you want to have a discussion. Don't act like you want to rip a person's throat out for what they said. And I think we're getting very confused about the different definitions, and I hate to use the term, but the different definitions of quote-unquote wokeness. And yeah, I cringe using that term as well, but how else are we supposed to describe this right now? I think we need to have a discussion too about what the definitions of these are being used, because right now I think we're really confused and people are taking firm advantage of our confusion of what definitions we're using when we use that term. And I tried to not use that term, but at this point, how else are you supposed to describe it? Because there's different definitions. I think we need to get things straightened out a little bit. Hopefully we do, because it's something this obvious that there was something wrong. And yes, Japanese people did have a problem with this game. If they didn't have a problem with this game, they wouldn't have called out that figurine. They wouldn't have started to call this stuff out. Japanese people were not happy about Assassin's Creed Shadows. If they were, point me to the evidence to suspect otherwise. Please inform us of where you heard that they were happy about this game, because they were not. And this whole thing with who the main protagonist was and what their contributions to history were was a distraction to get you away from the other issue, which was that they were going to charge north of $70, $80 for a standard edition of this game, because Ubisoft has shown their greed several times over. And this is showing that even when they're trying to do the right thing, they're still not telling you the entire story. They're trying to not inform you of what's going on. That they really need to change something here. They really need a course correction here. But I'm going to leave it at that, or else I'm going to go on a tangent for the next 20 minutes about the other stuff I was talking about that I kind of started rambling on about. Hopefully people will see that this was something that needed to happen and people don't start blaming these certain YouTubers that are the usual targets here every single time we start having discussions like this. Maybe it takes somebody on the outside to say, hey, you guys are acting like idiots. And here I go again. I'm going to start talking the next 20 minutes. I should stop right now. Please leave a comments down below about what you think about this. And yes, this was needed, but I don't think Ubisoft is being honest even at this juncture about what the problems were, because everybody knows what the problems were, and it had nothing to do with the race of the main protagonist. Had nothing to do with that. Don't believe anyone who tries to tell you otherwise. Until next time, to be continued.